Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the hidden history of old Hollywood, and we're going to use the renowned Gottman method to figure out if a marriage built entirely for the public could actually survive in private.
Let's just get right to the big question at the heart of today's explainer. If a union starts out as pure stagecraft, like a literal performance for the public, is it automatically doomed to be this loveless facade? Or is there an actual psychological architecture that can help it thrive?
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the Hollywood star system, then define Lavender Marriages, look at the friendship factor, see how to survive the four horsemen, and finally wrap up with creating shared meaning.
All right, part one, the Hollywood star system.
So back in the Golden Age, studios operated under this massive machine called the star system. They literally built stars from scratch. They valued a flawless public image way more than reality, and they rigidly controlled their actors' personal lives just to keep audiences buying tickets. They'd even invent completely new names and backstories. Archibald Leach became Cary Grant. Roy Harold Scherer Jr. became Rock Hudson. The whole thing was just about crafting a highly marketable illusion.
The level of control these studio execs had was absolutely staggering. We're talking strict morality clauses baked into contracts just to police their talent. They would literally arrange sham dates between single male stars and starlets. And of course, photographers would conveniently be tipped off to capture these supposedly romantic moments. All of this was just to protect careers and keep the gossip columns completely fed with wholesome narratives.
Which brings us to part two. Defining Lavender Marriages.
Now, because the color lavender was historically tied to homosexuality starting back in the 1920s, these strategic unions became known as Lavender Marriages. And they were the ultimate shield. A gay actor and a lesbian actress, or a gay star and a straight partner could legally wed, which allowed queer people to build domestic lives without risking industry ruin or massive public scandal. The contrast between a conventional setup and a lavender one is pretty stark, right? While conventional marriages usually rely on romantic passion and those default societal scripts, lavender marriages were built on survival, public relations, and mutual protection. But make no mistake here, even though they completely lacked conventional romantic origins, they were still very real domestic partnerships between two human beings sharing a life, a home, and a huge secret.
Moving on to part three, the friendship factor.
So, you might be wondering, how on earth do these forced unions actually function emotionally? Well, if we look at the Gottman method's sound relationship house, the absolute best predictor of whether a marriage will survive isn't fiery romance at all, it's the quality of the friendship. You build this through what Gottman calls love maps, really knowing the intricate details of your partner's inner world, their fears and their stresses. Think about a Hollywood star constantly hiding their identity from the world. Having a partner who truly knew their inner life provided this incredibly rare sanctuary. You pair that with nurturing fondness and admiration, basically making the daily decision to scan for what your partner is doing right rather than cataloging what's wrong. That deep curiosity, that's the actual foundation of a surviving marriage.
And the real kicker is this number right here, 86%. Every single day, partners make these tiny emotional bids for connection. It could be a sigh, a comment about the weather, just a look. Gottman studies found the couples who stay married successfully turn toward their partner's everyday emotional bids 86% of the time. Divorced couples, they only hit about 33%. So if two people in a lavender marriage actively turn toward each other's bids, they can absolutely build a highly resilient emotional bank account.
Okay, part four. Surviving the four horsemen.
But look, what happens when all that pressure inevitably boils over? Because you know it always does. Gottman's famous four horsemen of the apocalypse, criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling, are known relationship killers. And in a lavender marriage, these killers were uniquely summoned by the environment itself. Years of hiding your truth can breed deep shame, which easily manifests as defensiveness. Or, if one partner discovers the truth late, that intense sense of betrayal can quickly lead to stonewalling or contempt. The stakes and the pressures for these couples were just uniquely high.
But here's the absolute secret to making it work. Surviving those horsemen doesn't mean you just magically avoid conflict entirely. The real antidote is relying on repair attempts. This is any statement or action that stops negativity from spiraling completely out of control. It could be using a quick joke to de-escalate the tension, or simply acknowledging, hey, I know this situation is incredibly hard for you too. The attempt doesn't even have to be elegant, it just has to land. And it lands by resting on that solid foundation of friendship we talked about earlier.
Because hey, friction is perfectly normal. Actually, Gottman's research points out that a whopping 69% of relationship conflicts are perpetual problems. meaning they never fully resolve. They're rooted in fundamental personality differences. A lavender marriage obviously carries a massive perpetual problem regarding aligned sexual orientation. But what makes a perpetual problem truly destructive isn't its size. It's whether the couple becomes gridlocked and stops talking about it entirely.
Dr. John Gottman has this amazing quote. He says, "Every gridlocked conflict contains an unexpressed dream." The most successful couples don't just try to win the argument. Instead, they use dialogue to uncover the underlying dreams behind these perpetual problems. In a lavender marriage, maybe one partner's unexpressed dream is a desperate desire for authenticity, while the other partner is dreaming of family and safety. The ultimate goal is keeping that dialogue open and understanding those dreams, not necessarily fixing them.
And get this, Gottman's own 12-year longitudinal study revealed something super fascinating. It turns out same-sex couples actually use more affection and humor during conflict, and they share power way more equitably than straight couples do. So, the data itself suggests that a queer partner might actually bring these incredibly resilient conflict resolution strengths directly into a lavender marriage, giving the relationship some very unique tools for survival.
And that leads us to our final section, Part 5, Creating Shared Meaning.
This is where we hit the very top level of the sound relationship house, taking a marriage from just surviving to truly thriving. Because lavender marriages lack a traditional societal script, these couples had this amazing opportunity to intentionally design their own unique microculture. And they do this using the 4 pillars of shared meaning, building daily rituals of connection, fiercely supporting each other's roles in a really hostile world, establishing shared goals, and creating shared values. They aren't just following a borrowed template. They are actively and intentionally writing their very own story of commitment.
When the standard societal script just doesn't fit, you are literally forced to be intentional. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. How intentionally are you building your own relationships, regardless of the script society handed you?